a lot of hatred, a lot of bigotry. And when I say joy...
Wow, that's very, very silly. Hey, Brian, though, who was nearly assassinated, though, Brian? There's a lot of hatred on one side. That's interesting. But why were there multiple assassination attempts that happened to the other side, though? That's interesting. And it makes you really wonder, right?
Talk about the border situation, which has, by the way, been an issue in this country for decades and decades and decades. Here they...
No, it wasn't an issue when Trump was president. Okay, you numbnuts. It wasn't an issue. The border was not perfect, but it was well under control. That is in stark contrast to what happened when Biden was president, you fucking idiot.
If you think it's a narrative, why did Donald Trump tell these senators to not pass this bill? It's just a bad bill? Is that why?
Yes. Now you got it. Good job, Brian.
He's a grifter. Trump University. He is a scam artist.
Well, he's a really shitty fucking grifter because he's lost money since starting his political career, Brian. So I don't know how that exactly makes sense. Hey, Brian, how much has Nancy Pelosi's net worth gone up since she started her political career? How about Barack Obama, Brian? You want to tell us those numbers? I know the numbers. It's quite a bit.
If we are going to talk about Russia and Ukraine...
Oh my God, who is this? Who is this lady? Jesus, like Andrea Dworkin? You brought her back from the dead somehow, bro?
So I want to say really quickly that I think the biggest threat to our security, to everything in this...
Lady, the biggest threat to you is type 2 diabetes. Now, can you please be quiet?
I'm not here to get into trolling or hate.
No, I'm not here to do that. I appreciate you calling in. All right, so tell me, what where do I start here? Why are you supporting Donald Trump? I guess let's start there.
Well, this would be my first time voting for him.
Okay.
In the past, however, 12 years, since 2016.
Okay.
I have voted in the past, but for me, he has the policies that make sense.
Which policies? Honestly. Like, give me some specifics. What specific policies that you like?
Economically, we're not in a good spot economically. I feel that in my day-to-day life.
Okay, so that's your opinion on that, but specifically, like economically isn't a policy. So like what specific policies that Trump implemented you disagree with the Democrats on, and you could say, man, I really like that policy that really helped the economy, because he did put us $8.4 trillion in debt, and he left an economy that was terrible compared to the economy that he took over from Barack Obama. So I just want to know, like, what did he do in 4 years? Because you said you like his policies, and I just want to know, like, what policies do you like? Right? That's a fair question.
Right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Economically, you bring up the debt.
Sure.
I think the debt has been something to play with for these people. Tough to blame on just presidents, but, the debt's out of control, obviously. Everybody says they'll get it under control, but who knows? But, and we had COVID.
Right.
We had to spend our way out of COVID.
You think he did a good job handling
Donald Trump?
You think he did a good job handling COVID?
Job.
So when he said 15 cases, so when he said 15 cases down to zero, it's going to be gone by Easter. He talked about disinfectant, and he turned his coronavirus press conferences into campaign rallies. Would you define that as a good job?
I wouldn't.
Yeah, basically, I consider that a good job. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, did he say some dumb shit in the early days of the virus, of the pandemic? Yeah, he did. So what? What's your point? He had the general right idea, which was to fast track a vaccine, tell people to be careful, but don't lock down the economy. Yeah, he had the general rough, correct idea. Like, he wasn't perfect in it. I don't think he handled it perfectly by any means, but he did a good job. And again, what you guys are criticizing him for, firstly, you guys criticized him in the beginning because he shut down immigration. You guys called him racist for doing that because he didn't want people from China to come into the United States. You guys called him racist for that. And then as time went on, you guys accused him of being incompetent because of how he was handling it at that point. It was like he wasn't doing enough, in other words. That was what you guys were saying. So it was like he couldn't win no matter what he did. But basically, he did the right thing. He discouraged the lockdowns, but there was only so much that he could do. He fast-tracked a vaccine. He passed a bill that got a lot of money into the hands of people who were out of a job because of the pandemic and because of the lockdowns. I think overall he did a pretty good job with the cards that he was dealt. I would say he actually impressed me. I think he handled it really well, actually, to be perfectly honest with you.
Define that as defining the government's program of COVID at the time.
Okay, well, we were losing when he left, we were losing 3,000 to 5,000 people a day, and per capita, we were one of the worst countries in the world. Not the worst, but one of the worst countries in the world. And when we have more money than just about any other country in the world. I don't know. I guess I just respectfully disagree with you. I don't think that's good, but that's okay. We can disagree on that. Can you name me a policy?
I find that hard to believe. I mean, Florida didn't lock down, for example. I know he said other countries. I get that. But I'm just saying, Florida didn't lock down and our numbers were a lot better than the rest of the country. I think we were maybe in the bottom like 10, maybe 12 or something like that as far as per capita deaths, which is very, very low considering Florida has an older population. That was really good. Florida basically didn't lock down at any point. So, I mean, again, like it wasn't really just the lockdowns that meant that the deaths were going to be lower or whatever, like Brian is kind of implying, because he's implying Trump didn't do enough. Well, what could have Trump done? What could Trump have done? He could have encouraged more lockdowns, right? That's what Brian would want him to do. But obviously, like having more lockdowns didn't really seem to make a difference in Florida, where we had really good numbers and we didn't lock down at all, basically.
See that you like?
Just in general?
Well, yeah, because you said you like his policies, not a policy. And I just want to be fair with you. What is it?
In all honesty, I like the idea of America first. I like the idea of a strong America.
But that's not a policy. America first is a slogan. I didn't, with all due respect, I didn't ask you what slogans you like, because slogans mean nothing to me. Anybody can do that. You said you liked his policies. I can give you a bunch of Biden policies that worked. The Chips and Science Act, capping insulin at $35.
Well, that's a bill, not really necessarily a policy, but okay, dude.
For example, helping to raise minimum wage, maternity leave, for example. I can give you a long laundry list of policies that worked. I'm just asking you for one, sir, and you haven't given me one policy.
Yeah. Okay, funding black colleges is pretty nice.
Funding black colleges. So what policy was that?
What? I don't understand what you're saying. Like, that would be the policy, increasing funding for that. Does he think a policy needs to be a bill? He's so dumb, bro. He's so dumb.
I'm not a policy guy. I'm not a political guy.
Fair enough. I understand, but that's fine.
But am I wrong? Did he fund black colleges?
I don't know.
Compared to the past?
You're asking me. All I'm saying is you say you're not a policy guy, but yet you say the reason why you're voting for Trump is because you like his policies. With all due respect, sir, it's hard to have a conversation if you're going to say that. Okay, so you can't name me one policy. Okay, we'll move on from that.
I mean, it's like, as far as the economy goes, Republicans do the same thing every time. Like, it's like, I always love how they ask this as if it's some big mystery. It's like, yeah, bro, they cut taxes, they deregulate businesses, they're going to shut down immigration, that'll help prop up wages. Like, these are the same things that Republicans do, but not necessarily the immigration thing so much, because Bush wasn't big on that. But Trump obviously is very big on that.
I just did.
Well, that's not what's the policy? What's the bill? You can't even
I don't know the name of it, man. Okay. I don't know.
So he just threw money at black colleges, but you don't know the policy.
Yep. I mean, every president did that, really.
Pretty cool.
Okay. All right. I don't know what policy you're talking about, but we can move on from that. No problem. Does it bother you that he's a 34-count felon? Does it bother you that he's a liable sexual abuser? Does it bother you that he calls our brave men and women suckers and losers? Does it
oh God, he still believes the suckers and losers thing? What an absolute fucking dork. Oh my God.
Bother you what happened on January 6th? Does it bother you that he still hasn't conceded the 2020 election? Does any of that behave?
That doesn't really bother me. The stuff about the suckers and losers thing is just completely made up, so I don't get bothered by that. So go ahead, continue.
Forget about whether you think it's criminal or not. Does any of that behavior bother you at all?
To an extent, sure.
Okay, well, I appreciate...
Not a large enough extent not to vote for him.
So
to an extent, yeah.
So policies, even though you couldn't name any, with all due respect, policies are more important to you than principle, morals. Is that a fair assessment, or I don't want to mischaracterize?
I mean, the morals behind his policies are important, but him personally, his personal morals and whether or not he's had affairs and stuff like that, that does not personally affect anybody other than him and maybe his own family. No, I don't care about that. Why would I? I'm not married to him. Why would I care about that? I mean, if he committed a murder or something like that, that would be one thing, right? If he committed some horrible crime, that would be one thing. But the worst thing that you have is the dumb E Jean Caroll case, which is complete bullshit anyway, and nobody believes that woman was telling the truth anyway, so it's completely irrelevant.
In the choices that were given, legitimate choices of people to vote for.
Okay, why is
I'm going to go with policy?
Okay, but you didn't name any policies, but that's okay. We've been there before. Can you tell me why Kamala you don't think she's legitimate? What's wrong with her?
I didn't say she wasn't legitimate.
Okay,
what do you mean by not legitimate?
I'm mischaracterizing it then, but I want to hear we've talked about Trump, sort of. I want to get what do you not like about Kamala Harris? Is that a fair question? What do you not like about her?
It all seems fake. The joy thing. She's flip-flopped on a lot of different issues. She seems like a nice lady.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what they want her to win on. And I'm not against a woman president by any means.
Okay.
But from the things she said in the past to now, it doesn't smell right. And I know exactly what you're going to say.
Well, it's hard
Trump
for me.
is the same thing.
No, I wasn't going to bring up Trump. Trump. I just wish you'd be. So it bothers you. Her laugh, her fake joy, her laugh bothers you. But the fact that Donald Trump is a liable sexual abuser, that's not that big of a deal to you.
Did you not literally just say I was not going to bring up Trump? Didn't you just literally say that? It's like, what in the fuck, bro? It's like, obviously Harris was a very, very fake person. Everything about her was fake and scripted and contrived and rehearsed and just very artificial. She was just not a real person. I mean, she was very, very fake. That's all he's saying here, dude. It's very obvious.
Let's just talk about policy. Do you see where I'm going with that? January 6th, lying about the election, a liable sexual abuser, 34 count felon.
How much sex trafficking has gone up since Biden's been president?
Actually, I'll answer that.
To do against that.
So my question was about Harris, but I will answer that question. Do you know, sir?
Well, you brought up liable sexual abuse.
Sure.
That's why I bring it up.
Well, is Joe Biden a liable sexual abuser? Is Kamala Harris a liable?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Where was that proven in a court of law? Okay, where was that proven?
Well, it wasn't proven in a court of law that Trump was guilty of that either.
In a court of law.
Court of law?
Yeah. Oh, so you laugh about the courts.
No,
so we could just, so you're laughing about the courts. So we could just call somebody a sexual abuser, and that means that person's a sexual abuser. And it does.
That's what you're doing. Yeah, that's what you're doing, despite Trump never being indicted by a grand jury on that charge.
Doesn't have to be proven in a court of law. And
that wasn't proven in a court of law. The standard in our society is not a lawsuit where the jury checked the box about something. The standard in our society is someone is criminally found guilty in a criminal court. Brian, you absolute idiot.
You're laughing at that? Donald Trump was proven liable in a court of law with a jury of his peers that he sexually abused a woman by the name of E Jean Caroll. He has 25 plus women that have accused him of sexual assault or rape, including his ex-wife in a court.
Dude, you just say the same fucking things over and over again. You just say the same dumb shit. Like, we know about the Ivana case. We know about the deposition. We know that she immediately recanted all that and said she didn't mean that literally. You fucking idiot. That's a 30-year-old lie about Donald Trump. It's like a zombie lie. It never goes away in Brian Shapiro's head. He just continues to say it over and over and over again.
Deposition. But you're making a claim that is totally unsubstantiated, that Joe Biden is a sexual abuser. Where are you getting that from?
Do you know that a lot of women have accused him of sexual impropriety, Brian? It doesn't necessarily mean that he's guilty of them because he hasn't been tried in a court of law. But again, a lot of women have accused him of it. So what?
Well, I'd say the E Jean Caroll thing is a joke.
Okay, so you think our courts are a joke? Okay.
Yeah, I think that that court was definitely a joke. 100%, yes. That court was definitely a joke.
So what about the other 25 women? Are they lying too?
Yes, probably.
I don't know who's lying about Joe Biden, right?
Well, where has it been substantiated? Yeah, where has it been substantiated that Joe Biden is a sexual abuser? Well, what can you tell me about that? Because maybe this is breaking news. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, have you checked out Ashley Biden's diary, or is that?
Yes, I have. Let's talk about Ashley Biden's diary. First of all, yeah, let's do it. First of all, Ashley Biden was the first person at the DNC that introduced her father, number one. Number two, she
So? What in the fuck is that supposed to fucking prove? What the fuck? What an absolute fucking moron.
Number two, she stands by her father.
So what? Yeah, a lot of people who are abused as, oh God, he is so fucking dumb. Like, yeah, there's something called Stockholm Syndrome, you fucking moron, and people all the time sympathize and empathize with their abusers, you fucking idiot, especially women. He's never fucking heard of this before. He's a fucking moron.
Three, that diary was in the hands of 3 or 4 right-wing nutcases that stole the diary.
Immaterial to the point. We're not discussing how it got into whose hands or whatever. We're talking about the contents of the diary and the authenticity of the diary. Ashley basically admitted, she didn't explicitly say it, but she basically admitted that the diary was legitimate. And we know what she wrote in the diary. And yeah, she said some stuff that makes her father look kind of creepy. That's just the reality of it. I mean, it's up for interpretation, but it doesn't look great.
Including a guy by the name of Mr. O'Keefe. It has never been proven or...
Yeah, so what? Yeah, okay, Project Veritas bought the diary for 40 grand, Brian. What's your fucking point? So Project Veritas buys the diary, therefore the diary must be not legitimate. What are you thinking? Like, so what? God, you're dumb, bro. So some investigative group buys a thing, therefore the thing must not be legitimate. If anything, it would lend it credibility, you moron. And by the way, they called her and they told her that they had her diary and she said something to them. We don't know exactly exactly what she said, but she said something to them that made them think it was real. And they went ahead and purchased the thing. The fucking diary was almost certainly real. Again, like I can't say 100%, but it's pretty fucking close.
Substantiated that she even wrote that in the diary.
You're just totally fucking wrong, bro. You're totally wrong.
But I'm sure you weren't aware of that. But you would rather look at and
it's just cope. It's just cope. He's just coping right now.
take something that his daughter wrote in a diary. By the way, even in the diary, even if it was real, which we don't know if it was, she said borderline maybe inappropriate. Okay. You have a
She
woman.
never said the word borderline maybe. You're just totally adding that to it. She said probably not appropriate, quote unquote, I believe. Probably not appropriate. That's what she said. Okay. There's no borderline maybe. You're just totally adding that into it. That is not what Ashley, not that I care about this, but like he doesn't even get basic fucking facts about the story right. He's so fucking dumb.
Woman in a court of law that said that Donald Trump raped her. It was proven based on evidence in a court of law that Donald Trump raped her. So you
No, it was not proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Donald Trump did anything to her, dingus. There was a preponderance of evidence that the jury thought that he had committed sexual abuse, not rape. Not rape. They were asked specific questions. Okay, the jury questionnaire was very, very specific. Did Donald Trump rape E Jean Caroll? The jury unanimously said no. They said yes to sexual abuse. And if you had fucking looked into this case at all, you would know that the jury was instructed to view sexual abuse specifically as anything ranging from groping a woman or a person all the way to digital penetration of her. So technically the jury could have thought that the worst thing that he did to her was grope her, which still is not appropriate, but I'm just saying technically really doesn't mean that he did what you're saying that he did. And also a jury has a completely different standard of evidence in a civil court case compared to a criminal court case. You absolute fucking idiot.
want to laugh.
Well, how much did she win? How much did she win in that settlement?
Here's my question. I don't care about the money. Okay, here's the problem that I have
She said
here.
it was sexy. She said it was
Okay,
sexy.
so does that mean
on
that
live television.
so does that mean that it didn't happen?
No, but it means that she's probably not mentally well, and people who are not very mentally well might make up some shit. And obviously this woman has a history of accusing men and it being completely unsubstantiated.
I'm saying this woman.
She accused another man in the book that she wrote where she accused Donald Trump. Another man that was completely unsubstantiated.
Maybe isn't the parameter
Right.
of
But,
what you should
Okay,
be listening
so
to.
you don't think this
These are
woman?
New York socialites, they're free.
Okay,
You know
so
that.
you don't think that's a parameter, E Jean Caroll, even though a jury decided he's a liable sexual abuser, a man who has 5 kids with 3 different women, a man
So what? Does that mean that he sexually abused a woman necessarily, dingus? Who cares?
who's had 25 women have accused him of sexual assault or rape, but you want to go by and call Joe Biden a sexual abuser because a diary that was completely unverified, never proven in a court of law, that was in the hands of Mr. O'Keefe and other right-wing turds that stole the diary.
Okay, first of all, James O'Keefe did not steal the diary, you absolute moron. Okay, he purchased the diary from somebody because he believed it to be authentic. He then later turned it over to federal law enforcement. You fucking moron. You don't even know the fucking story. You're so dumb, bro.
Do you see where I'm going with this, sir? It's an issue of credibility. This is the man who bragged about sexual assault, who said, if she wasn't my daughter, I would date her. By the way, how can you explain the fact?
It's like the greatest hits. Every stupid thing that Trump ever said about women, like Brian, who cares? Him saying something about women doesn't mean that he abused a woman, stupid. Like, that's not the standard that we use in our society. Oh, he said some bad things once. Like, no, dude. Like, he hasn't been found guilty in a criminal court of this crime, stupid.
That he was on the Jeffrey Epstein flight log 7 times, mingling and hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, or does that not bother you at all either?
I mean, it doesn't look good, obviously, but a lot of people were hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein, so what?
I mean, it's a cause for concern, but listen, these
cause for
people
concern.
of this of this ultra wealthy status, which I'm against. That's probably one of my biggest knocks on Donald Trump. They catch rides all the time because they're jet setters. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean anything went down.
But you know who wasn't on? You know who wasn't on that? You know who wasn't on that flight log? Joe Biden.
I guess Kamala Harris or Joe Biden.
Yeah, they weren't on that
Joe
flight
Biden
log.
owns an island.
Yeah, who cares? Like, so what? Bill Clinton was on it a lot. So, do you think that Bill Clinton abused women on Jeffrey Epstein's island? Oh, okay. So, like, but you think Trump likely did it though? That's why you're bringing it up. You think it looks suspicious? Oh, that's interesting. So, you think that we should look into Bill Clinton more? Like, do you think that we should do that, Brian?
Right by a little St. James, not far off. I mean,
So because
you've never heard that, but he does. And he mingles with all these people. It's the same.
Okay, can you show me?
pool.
All right, fair enough. Can you show me one picture of Joe Biden mingling with Jeffrey Epstein? Because I can show you pictures and videos of Donald Trump. Does that not bother you at all?
Bro, Donald Trump has not had a recent relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. They barely knew each other. Like, he knew him from like back in like the 90s or whatever. Like, who cares? Like, what's your point? Like, who cares? He knew a lot of rich people who lived in New York City. They were all in a big, old boys club with one another. Like, who cares?
It's a bad look, no doubt.
It definitely is a bad look. We agree on that.
But I mean, we're okay. Yeah, sure. It doesn't look good.
So what are your criticisms of Kamala Harris? I mean, you're making fun of her laugh. I've given you.
I didn't say anything about her laugh.
Well, you said it's fake joy.
You're painting.
Fake joy.
The campaign is based on.
I mean, it's very like inappropriate that every question she gets asked, she just like cackles. Like, it's not really like a good look. It's not a very serious look, but I actually kind of like her laugh, to be honest.
On the idea of joy.
Sure.
When I tuned in,
here's what I tell you. You know why I say that, sir? And you can tell me whether you disagree or not. I've been to both Trump rallies and Kamala Harris rallies. The Trump rally I went to a few months ago. Yeah, I try to hear both sides. That's why I'm keeping you on the line, because I think it's a good conversation. I went to the Trump rally, in Vegas. I saw a bunch of F Joe Biden shirts. I saw Confederate flags. By the way, I videoed this and I documented it. A lot of hatred, a lot of bigotry. And when I say joy...
Wow, that's very, very silly. Hey, Brian, though, who was nearly assassinated, though, Brian? There's a lot of hatred on one side. That's interesting. But why were there multiple assassination attempts that happened to the other side, though? That's interesting. And it makes you really wonder, right?
I went to the Harris rally several weeks ago. I didn't see any vulgarities. I didn't see any Confederate flags. All I saw was Waltz, and I saw Harris flags, and people were smiling, laughing.
Why didn't you see any American flags? Yeah, why didn't you see any of those, Brian?
And having a good time. Now, I'm not saying that every person that goes to a Trump rally is filled with bigotry and hate, but the rally that I went to, there were a lot of people that were filled with bigotry and hate. And in my opinion, it's why the KKK.
How do you know? How do you know that? You went up and talked to them and they said that I'm a bigot full of hate? Like, that's just your interpretation of what they told you.
Okay? It's why the Proud Boys and so many hate groups in this country support Donald Trump, including David Duke. So when I...
It's just a meaningless thing to say. Like, obviously, those people aren't going to support Kamala Harris, but so what? But Richard Spencer supported Kamala Harris. What do you think about that, Brian?
Say joy, sir. I mean, I didn't feel any negativity or hatred when I went to the Harris rally. There were a lot of people enjoying themselves, having a good time. Do you disagree with that characterization?
Yeah, I disagree with it. I think if I went to a Harris rally, there would be a lot of hatred towards Donald Trump there. Case in point, you went to a Harris rally and you're full of hatred towards Donald Trump.
Somewhat, yes, I do.
Okay, so tell me where I'm wrong. Go ahead.
I'm sure the 5,000 Palestinian protesters outside the DNC.
There were no. Okay, so hold on. Let's backtrack. There were no.
5,000. It's not that much.
Let's backtrack. I was just talking about rallies. There were no Palestinian protesters at any of the Harris rallies that I have been to. If there are,
that you've been to.
Okay, if there were protesters outside of a venue that are chanting horrible things, guess what? The Harris campaign doesn't approve. And guess what? You're making my argument for me.
No, he's not. No, he's not, Dingus. Because if there were hate-filled people outside of the Republican rallies, they would also be kicked out, stupid.
Those Palestinian people that were protesting are not voting for Kamala Harris. I'm talking about the supporters that support Donald Trump that were wearing the biggest.
They probably are, though, stupid. I mean, yeah, maybe some of them won't support Harris because they think that she's weak on the Israel issue. But if they are going to vote on that issue, it would make sense for them to vote for Harris over Trump because Trump is clearly the larger pro-Israel candidate.
And the Confederate flag, which once Donald Trump, by the way, defended. The people that you're describing are not supporting Kamala Harris. I'm not talking about
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. They're supporting Harris more so than they're supporting Trump. That's for sure.
Protesters. I'm talking about your supporters. You do understand.
Yeah, I mean,
you do understand. That those people
I
are not.
Where you're coming
those people are not supporting Kamala Harris. How could you criticize Harris for that?
Sure. I mean, they're of the left, though. I mean, they could be supporting her.
How do you know that? How do you know they're on the left? Has somebody done a census? Has they interviewed these people? They could be non-voters. They could be MAGA supporters.
Okay, let's see. Can you not just use the exact same fucking argument about the dumb shit that you were hypothetically speaking of before, where there was KKK members outside of the Trump rally or whatever dumb bullshit? Yeah, how do you know how those people vote? Like, same thing. Has there been a survey? Has there been an empirical study that's looked into that? No, obviously not. Like, so you don't fucking know what you're talking about either. So who cares?
I would contend that most people that want a ceasefire and want a free Palestine would be more left leaning. that might just be crazy, but it's just something that I feel like is the right
Do you think
thing that I'm saying.
Do you think a ceasefire is a bad idea?
No, I don't think that at all.
Guess
But,
who wants?
It's not going to end at a ceasefire. I'll tell you.
It hasn't ended since the mid '80s. I didn't say it was going to end, but Kamala Harris is for a ceasefire.
Well, so is Trump.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm. What?
Ceasefire is
So why say that? Why say it? I don't get it. Like, okay.
a bullshit term.
Okay. Well, what else
Can I
about?
curse? I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. Stay away from that. That's okay. What else about Harris? Because I haven't really heard any substance from you. You haven't given me any.
He's like, yeah, we're on the radio, but it's AM radio, and like basically no one's listening. But we'd prefer it if you didn't. It's like, all right, Brian.
Trump policies that you like, and on the coin, the flip.
Look, immigration's a problem. Kamala's coming
Gotcha.
around and saying
Let's talk
she
about-
wants to do more of a.
Sure.
Immigration's a big problem.
I agree.
Economy's a big problem.
I agree. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about immigration.
Sure.
What about the bipartisan bill where MAGA?
Oh, stop. Make it stop. It's the same fucking shit over and over again.
MAGA Republicans and Democrats sat at the table, and it was the biggest comprehensive border bill, which, by the way, was supported by the Border Patrol. They endorsed the bill, which would have been the most
So what? So what? Border Patrol endorses something, so I got to agree with them. So what?
comprehensive in decades. And then Donald Trump picks up the phone and he calls his Republican senator friends and says, don't vote for this bill. Do you know why? Because it would have made Joe Biden look good, and he cares more about that than what is good for the country. So for people that want to talk,
That's your interpretation of it. But in reality, Trump didn't like the bill because the bill allowed for 5,000 people to cross every day before Border Patrol would then have to shut down the border, for like a 2-week period or something like that. We don't need to pedantically go into every detail about the bill, but essentially that's what it was.
talk about the border situation, which has, by the way, been an issue in this country for decades and decades and decades. Here they
No, it wasn't an issue when Trump was president. Okay, you numbnuts. It wasn't an issue. The border was not perfect, but it was well under control. That is in stark contrast to what happened when Biden was president, you fucking idiot.
have a bill that is put forth together with both sides, and Trump tells them to stick it.
But why, even without any sort of new bill you're talking about, why is it that we have 10,000 immigrants coming across our country, living horrible conditions,
Sure.
don't know what they're in for? They're in camps for 4 or 5 months. They figure out what to do with them.
Sure.
We throw money at them, lots of money at them, the second they get in. To do what? And I mean, I'm not saying they're taking all of our jobs, but I mean,
So I'm not going to, I hear you. And I'm not going to sit here and deny that we have major issues at the border, but we've had those.
It came up when Biden became.
That is not true.
It is true. It is true.
See, this is when I get frustrated. I was just going to say.
It is true. Biden made it worse. Was there a problem with illegal immigration during Trump's years? Yes, that is true. However, it was nowhere near as bad. Okay, it was nowhere near as bad, and this is just pure fucking gaslighting.
We need to understand that Republicans and Democrats need to come together. Do you understand that there are less people crossing the border illegally now than there were when Trump left office? What you're saying is not true.
That's because you're classifying them as asylum seekers, which essentially is a distinction without a difference.
It's not factually
I don't
accurate.
believe that.
Well, it's not my fault if you don't believe it. I'm pretty educated on these issues. I talk about them every day.
I live on the border, dude.
Okay, so because you live on the border, you know everything? I'm telling you, look it
He
up.
probably does know more than you, Brian, but you're a fucking moron anyway, so who knows?
Right now, there are less people crossing the border illegally than there were under.
I don't know about right now. I mean, right now, Trump is president. And even in the months preceding inauguration, like Biden did take steps towards cleaning up the border. I don't think anyone denies that. It's just that he did it for political reasons. It's the exact same thing that you accused Trump of. Like, you're accusing Trump of shooting down the border bill, even though he's not the president. He's not in Congress. He can only recommend things to legislators. They don't have to actually go along with what he wants. But even if you ignore all that, you're blaming Trump for not going along with that bill for petty political reasons. In reality, the only reason why Biden cleaned up the border was because of petty political reasons. That's the only reason why he cared about the border. I mean, if there wasn't an election that was coming up, he wouldn't have cared about the border at all. He would have allowed it to continue going to shit.
The Trump administration, both parties have made mistakes. They're not perfect. We've had issues at the border for decades. I'm with you on that. But you can't tell me that all of a sudden Trump cares so much about this issue when there were.
I don't know what you mean by all of a sudden. He's cared about it for 10 fucking years. He's cared about it his entire political career.
Undocumented immigrants that committed horrible crimes under his administration. We never heard about those crimes Only under the Biden administration we hear about those crimes. And what I am telling you is there was a border bill that was put together with MAGA Republicans and Democrats. It was ready to go. The most comprehensive bill in decades. And
that bill was fucking garbage, and you know it. Absolute fucking garbage.
Trump picked up the phone and told them not to pass it. Why wouldn't you have a problem with that? I agree with you.
You're leaving out the fact that it allowed 5,000 fucking people to cross a day before Border Patrol had to shut down the border. Okay, that basically means theoretically over 1.5 million people could come here and claim asylum every fucking year. That's a lot of people. Obviously, Trump is not going to go along with it. If they had taken that portion of the bill out and then Trump didn't support it, yes, then you'd have a point. Yes, then you'd have a point, because there obviously was a lot of resources that were allocated towards judges, immigration professionals, etc., to deal with this problem. I agree with you there. And Border Patrol. Trump's contention with it was not that. Trump's contention with the bill was the 5,000 a day of border crossings. That was his main contention with it.
We have major problems at the border. Why wouldn't you agree with me that what Trump did was wrong? He put himself before the country.
I mean, that's a nice narrative. I don't know if that's exactly the way you're.
Why did he do it then? Why did he do it then? If you call it a narrative, because what I'm giving you is not a narrative, it's been confirmed by some. Do you know who Mr. Langford is? Donald Trump once called him one of the best Republicans when it came to border issues. He was the main guy that helped put this border bill together. And even Langford was shaking his head and agreeing with Joe Biden during the State of the Union speech when Joe Biden said that it was Donald Trump's fault and MAGA Republicans for why this bill wasn't passed. So that's not a narrative. Langford would agree with me on that, and many of the Republicans that helped put this bill together. I'm not giving you a narrative. I mean, I don't know why you would characterize it as that. Okay, so
yes, it is a narrative, stupid. God, you're dumb, Brian. The narrative is that Trump rat-fucked this bill for petty political reasons. In reality, he rat-fucked the bill, if you even want to describe it that way, because he disagreed fundamentally with the bill, and he thought that 5,000 asylum seekers a day was way too many. That's why he didn't like the bill. That was the main issue that he had with the bill. You're accusing him of doing it for petty political reasons, when in reality, the only reason why Biden has even cared about the border is because it's an election year, and that's why he got it cleaned up towards the end of his administration. You know, again, this is very, very silly.
If you think it's a narrative, why did Donald Trump tell these senators to not pass this bill? It's just a bad bill? Is that why?
Yes. Now you got it. Good job, Brian.
Well, from what I understand, there were things in the bill that weren't just immigration focused.
I agree.
You know, there was a lot of pork they called in that bill. Right?
Okay, I agree. But sometimes when you pass bills, I think we'll agree on this, there's going to be positives and negatives, some give and take. For example, I'm going to give you another example real quickly, okay? So Republicans are saying Kamala Harris has changed her stance now on the border wall. She totally changed her stance on it and flip-flopped. That's a lie. You know what she did? She agreed with some of the MAGA Republicans to some of their, I guess you could call them demands, in putting more money towards building the wall in return for other things. It's called negotiations. She helped with those negotiations. But yet Trump picked up the phone and told these senators not to pass this bill. Listen, I appreciate
you're just saying the same thing over and over again. Is that it? Are we done?
Conversation, my friend. I will give you credit for calling into this show and having a discussion with me. I really do. You sound like a nice guy. The problem I have with this conversation, with all due respect, is I asked you why you were supporting Donald Trump. That was my first question. You said you like his policies. You didn't even say policy. You said policies. And you couldn't name me one policy that you know of. I find that extremely problematic. And then when I asked you your criticisms of Kamala Harris, you said you think she has fake joy, which would be a personality trait you don't like, which I would also disagree with.
Well, Brian, people do vote on a person, a physical human being. And if the person just seems like they're not very likable or they're not very genuine, then yeah, they're going to be less popular if everything else is the same.
So here on one side, you like his policies. You can't name me one. On the other side, you don't like Kamala Harris because she has fake joy. I'll let the listeners decide on that one. Brandon, are you a racist?
Oh, thank you. You're a racist too.
Thank you.
Absolutely racist.
I like how it's like right out of the gate. You racist, yo.
So my main thing, sir, is that maybe it's kind of a personal psychological question, but why do you have such a racial hatred for Donald Trump
Did you say
that is
racial?
your father's age.
Did you say racial hatred?
Yes, because it's called self-racism
Okay,
when
so
you
let me,
hate on your own
okay,
race.
so let me.
Oh, you're touching on something that you're probably not supposed to be touching on right now, caller. Let's see how Brian responds.
Be very clear. The color of Donald Trump's skin, whether it be white
Or orange.
orange, literally
Fucking dork.
has zero to do with why I dislike him. Let me lay it out for you, Brandon. Okay. And that's really weird that you would bring up the color of his skin. His color of his skin has nothing to do with it. What it has to do with, Brandon, is the fact that he is a liable abuser of women. The fact that 25 women have come forward and have accused him of a word that starts with the letter R. The fact that he has attacked Gold Star families. The fact that he has attacked POWs. I don't respect John McCain because he was captured. The fact that he has dodged the military multiple times. The fact that he makes $3.
Again, that's like, bro, Biden didn't serve, neither did Harris. Like, so what? So again, those people get a pass because they didn't volunteer, but because Trump said he had bone spurs or whatever the stupid story is, he should be condemned for it. Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Did you serve, Brian?
Bibles built in China, made in China, and then sells them here for $60. The fact
So what? Don't buy them. Don't fucking buy them if you have a problem with that. You don't have to fucking buy them.
that he's a grifter. Trump University, he is a scam artist. The way
Yeah, well, he's a really shitty fucking grifter because he's lost money since starting his political career, Brian. So I don't know how that exactly makes sense. Hey, Brian, how much has Nancy Pelosi's net worth gone up since she started her political career? How about Barack Obama, Brian? You want to tell us those numbers? I know the numbers. It's quite a bit.
he's treated
LeBron has
Hold on a
things
second,
with China's sweatshop.
Brandon, we're not talking about anybody else but Donald Trump right now. You asked me a question and you made a claim that somehow I'm racist towards white people, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's true.
Then say you love white people, Brian. Say it. Jesse Lee Peterson, where are you, man? Make him say it. I didn't ask you about all people. I said, do you love white people?
Okay,
if you're calling people trailer trash,
Brandon, first of all,
That is true. Trailer trash is basically like a subtle anti-white slur. He is correct about that. I mean, that's why I don't like that expression. I don't like the expression white trash. I mean, I've used it before in the past, and I try not to. It is basically like so is Karen, to be honest. Like Karen, I think is just an anti-white female slur, and I don't like that either.
that's a
first of all,
derogatory term.
Brandon, we're talking about Donald Trump. Let's try to focus for a moment. Those things that I just listed for you have nothing to do with the color of Donald Trump's skin. It has to do with his behavior and his criminality. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's also a 34-count felon.
How would you feel if another white person called you a cracker and stuff on
Okay,
your own stuff?
so Brandon, never once on this show have I ever used that term. It's funny how you don't listen to what I say. Brandon, you asked me a question with respect. I'm respectfully answering your question. I just listed you a
And
bunch.
I'm respectfully answering
Did
it.
I ever use that term? Did I ever call Donald Trump that or anybody white on this show ever? The
I
answer,
never said you
Brandon.
did, but
Then why?
in
Then
your ancestors,
Brandon. I need you to listen now. Then why would you bring it up? You claim that somehow let me tell you who I'm biased towards. I don't use the term racist because I'm not a racist and I don't judge people based on skin color, what they look. I don't do that. I don't do that whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're orange. Well, maybe when you're orange, okay? But we're having a little fun with the makeup that Donald Trump puts on. Brandon,
It's not makeup, dude. It's like bronzer or something like that. He goes to tanning salons, stupid. A lot of people who live up north, because they don't get sunlight, they go into these tanning salons and they get really brown and they think of it as kind of almost like a status symbol kind of a thing, and they think it looks good. I think some of them overdo it and it looks bad, but who cares? Like, so what? Like, why do we gotta talk about so much about his physical appearance? Like, who cares?
you said I'm racist. Let me be clear. I don't like Donald Trump because of those things that I mentioned. Now let me ask you a question in reverse. I believe the real racist is Donald Trump. Why do I say that? First of all, he only hired one African American in his administration. Number two.
So what? So basically what you're saying is there's some quota he should have. And also, why would he have any? Like, why would he have one? Why not have zero if you're really that racist? It doesn't make any sense. And I know what he's going to say next. I can already predict it. He's going to bring up the 1990, the real estate discrimination case where the Justice Department sued him and he settled out of court or whatever with the Justice Department. I know that's what he's going to bring up next. Again, another stupid thing from 30 fucking years ago.
He once said that he didn't want black people to count his money in his casinos, but he wanted Jews to count his money.
Well, wait a minute. Hey. What in the fuck? Okay. I mean, I don't know what to make of that one, but all right. I mean, but again, like, why would that make him racist, though? So, like, he's racist, but he likes Jewish people? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right?
Donald Trump has lost thousands of civil lawsuits because he didn't want black people to live in the residences that he...
Thousands? What are you talking about, you absolute fucking moron? There was one lawsuit 30 fucking years ago where he settled out of court and did not have to admit any wrongdoing, but did have to make some adjustments to his practice. He was apparently violating the Fair Housing Act, was what it was, but he did not have to admit any wrongdoing and he settled out of court.
...owned in New York City. Now, when you call somebody a racist, you have to have evidence to back it up. You said, I'm racist toward...
Yeah, where's your evidence that Trump was racist? A lawsuit from 30 fucking years ago. He doesn't personally manage the properties, dingus. He's a multi-billionaire. Someone else made the decision that violated the Fair Housing Act or whatever. 2, a comment that he made once about the people in his casino. Who cares? And then 3, the fact that he had only one black person in his cabinet. So what? So what? Why have any if he's a terrible racist?
...towards Donald Trump. No, sir. I just tend not to like people who abuse women. I tend not to like people that are 34-count felons. I tend not to like people like Donald Trump who insult everybody and anybody that disagree with him. Brandon, am I not making any sense with you at all? Can you at least say, okay, Brian, that makes a little bit of sense?
No, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. We've been over all these stupid points before. You're just wrong.
It makes sense, but
Thank
you don't understand in the sense of you're actually being hypocritical of what you say you're against.
Give me a
You're
specific
doing the same
example.
thing.
Give me a specific example, please.
One thing, trailer trash, if you studied
Never
history,
called Donald
that's
Trump
returned
that.
by
Never
other
got...
Caucasians that
pot him
used
down
against other
again.
Caucasians.
Pot him down again.
Oh, so it's cool as long as you don't call Trump the thing. So, okay, I can be racist against black people or Indian people as long as I don't directly say that about Kamala Harris then, by that logic. Like, what are you talking about, dude? No, that's not how it fucking works, stupid.
And first you used the term cracker, which I said I never called Donald Trump that name. I also never called Donald Trump trailer trash. So now you've said 2 things on this show. You specifically were in reference to Donald Trump. Now, I ask you again, because you're making, with all due respect, Brandon, I'm happy to have this conversation with you, but you're kind of making yourself sound like a fool. I never called Donald Trump, quote, trailer trash, and I never called Donald Trump, quote, a cracker. Maybe you have me confused with Antonio Brown, who since has blocked me on social media. Brandon, what have I said about Donald Trump specifically that would lead you to believe that it's a racist statement or that I'm racist towards Donald Trump as we pod you back up on the program? Go ahead.
Everything is obsessed with Donald Trump. If you want to criticize
That is not
everybody,
racism.
criticize
That is
everybody
not,
else.
Brandon,
It is
Brandon, that is not
One
racism.
second.
No.
One second.
No. You just
Listen,
said
sir.
everything I do. So
Right,
if
man.
if a Republican criticizes Joe Biden 24/7, does that make them a racist? Donald Trump criticizes Democrats and lefties
Well, if I criticize Kamala Harris, you probably would call me a racist, though, Brian. That's the difference.
24/7. Does that make him a racist? So
Do you think that Republicans are racist for criticizing Barack Obama when he was president? I bet you Brian does think that. He may not admit it, but he thinks it.
according by Brandon's standards, if you
You
criticize,
said white
hold on.
MAGA Republicans,
Okay.
and not every
Let me be.
Republican is MAGA and
Okay.
white.
Never have I ever said on this. Boy, you say things that I've never
You
said.
said it thousands before.
Brandon, have I ever said every single person that is a Donald Trump supporter is white? Have I ever made that statement on the show?
You said MAGA white Republicans. That right there is saying you hate white Republicans.
No,
of
it's
the
not.
Caucasian race.
No, it's not. See, you say things that and
So
you
I
make
guess white means
character.
something else to
Are
you.
you going to listen? Because that's the problem with you. You don't listen. You've claimed that I've called Donald Trump a cracker. Never said that once on or off the air. You've claimed that I've called Donald Trump trailer trash. Never said that on or off the air. I've called Donald Trump a lot of names. I've never called them that. So you lied about that. Number 3, when I talk about white MAGA Republicans, I am putting them in a category of a specific type of Republican that refers to black people and talks about DEI hires, the Charlie Kirks of the world, the people that go to his rallies
Why
and buy
do you
his
want
Bibles.
corrupt blacks working? Is that for the government and being pawns? That's you. That shows white racism, and you want white superiority right there. We can do things ourselves.
When did I say that?
We don't need you.
When did I?
Liberal.
Hey, first of all, I'm not a liberal moron. Okay, so you're again.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. What are you then, Brian? Tell us.
Again, saying something about me that is not true.
You got insulted. You wouldn't protect yourself.
Okay, excuse me. When somebody characterizes me as, I guess are you racist towards liberals, Brandon?
Are you racist towards white people, Brian?
Brandon,
liberals were the ones
Brandon,
who
are you
hated black
racist?
people.
Brandon, I think you're racist. I think you're racist towards liberals. Why do you categorize me?
That shows black people.
I think you're a racist. No. No. I'm not saying black people are racist. I'm saying, Brandon, you're racist. I think you're racist. Brandon, are you a racist?
Oh, thank you. You're a racist.
Thank you. So when somebody calls me a racist, I don't say thank you. I defend myself because I am not. Brandon just admitted that he is a racist.
Brian's such a fucking dork. I'm amazed anyone calls into his fucking show. I mean, not that many people do, but I'm amazed anyone does.
Hey, Kanye, can I call you Kanye? I think we have Kanye. What do you think about Jewish people, Kanye? Go ahead, Kanye. What do you think about the Jews?
So it's funny how his brain goes directly to that. You know, it's like, wait, Brian, I thought we were talking about white people, though. Like, why are you all of a sudden Jew? Are you Jewish or are you white, Brian? Tell us.
Kanye, go ahead.
Dude, I'm already Jewish because I'm Semitic. Duh,
all right. Brandon, you're just...
He's like, I'm a real Jew, not like you fake Jews like Brian Shapiro.
A complete imbecile. You're an idiot and you're a disgrace. I don't know what race you are. I don't know what religion you are. I don't know what you look like, but whatever you are, you're an embarrassment to your people. Whatever you are. I have no idea what you are. You mischaracterized me in every single aspect. You claim that I called Donald Trump things that I've never called him. I've called him a lot of things, but I never called him a cracker. And I never said, what is the other thing he said? I don't know, trailer trash? I don't know. Brandon, I think you're a racist. Have a nice day. If we are going to talk about Russia and Ukraine.
Oh my God, who is this? Who is this lady? Jesus, like Andrea Dworkin? You brought her back from the dead somehow, bro?
Even if you disagree with me, that's okay. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Answer the question. Who do you want to win the war? Russia or Ukraine?
Bro, like, what a fucking dumb question to ask. Like, neither of them are going to win the war in, like, the conventional sense, bro. Like, obviously, they're going to have to come to some kind of a peaceful agreement.
Answer the question.
I just wanted to point out in regards to Ukraine and NATO. Years ago, Ukraine put forth the admission to try to get a part of NATO, and the NATO nations did not accept the invite because one of the main reasons because they were a corrupt country, and they also said that one of the NATO rules is that to join NATO, you can't be entangled in any kind of conflicts for a period of 7 years. So as of today, NATO has never been a part of NATO.
I don't know like why Brian is laughing. I think what he's saying is true.
On saying that
never said they were. Never said that. I said get into NATO. Number one. So let me ask you a question, Patrick. Patrick,
back into NATO multiple times.
Patrick, let's have a conversation about Ukraine. Let me start by asking you this question: who do you want to win the war, Russia or Ukraine? Can you please answer that?
Ukraine lost from 2014.
Didn't ask you, Patrick. I need you to focus. Let's have a conversation. This is what gets me frustrated.
Hey,
Patrick,
why do I have to sit there and want one side to win over the other side? Like, neither of these countries are my country. I could just want the violence to stop. Like, what do you mean? Like, why do I have to sit there and pick a side? Wow, how silly.
Patrick, you need that. Patrick, shut up.
Oh, God, Brian is so annoying. I'm not like, okay.
I'm asking you a question. That doesn't mean you talk, and it means you answer my question. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next caller. I'm asking you a direct question, and it had nothing to do with 2014. If we are going to talk about Russia and Ukraine, even if you disagree with me, that's okay. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Answer the question. Who do you want to win the war? Russia or Ukraine? Answer the question.
Ukraine already lost. It's a mute point.
Ukraine did not lose. That is not true.
They're an autonomous country.
And the war...
Well, they haven't made any progress, in like, I think a year or two or something like that, and they can't like mobilize enough soldiers to do a counteroffensive. So, I mean, it's not exactly looking great for them, Brian.
Is still going on. So now I've asked you twice. I'm going to ask you a third time. Ukraine has not lost. The war is still going on. And as we speak, there are soldiers, sadly, and innocent people that are dying. Okay. So now
Yeah, it sounds like we should end the war then, Brian. We should do what we can to get that war over with real quick.
I'm going to ask you one more time, because it's almost impossible to have a conversation with you with any intelligence at all or credence when you won't answer this question. See, you're answering the question the same way Tulsi Gabbard, Donald Trump, and Marjorie Taylor Greene would answer, because I think your IQ is somewhere around where they're at. But that's okay.
Yeah, just ad hom, just personal insults. Yeah.
I'll give my special MAGA supporters another chance. Hey, Patrick, the war is still going on. We're not talking about 2014. I ask you again, who do you want to win the war? Russia or Ukraine? Please answer the question directly.
I do not support evil, murderous dictators like Zelensky. How's that?
Okay, well then, Patrick, you are then Patrick, you are an imbecile.
My goodness.
You are an imbecile. Here we have Vladimir Putin, who invaded Ukraine, and your response is, and I'm going to take that response as you want Russia to win, which makes you an imbecile. So how can I have...
I mean, it is true that Zelensky has suspended political elections, isn't it? And it also is true that before this war, Ukraine was really known as being the most corrupt nation in Europe other than Russia. So it doesn't exactly have like the best track record when it comes to these kinds of things.
A conversation with you.
How about Patrick? Why don't you go live in Russia and see how that is?
Well, Patrick, if I had it my way, I would deport you to Russia right now. But since you think that you want...
Well, that's just too bad, because you're just actually a radio show host with no power or authority over anybody. So what are you going to do?
Russia to win, you think I'm going to have a good faith conversation with you? You're an idiot. You're an imbecile. That's what you are. You're not even willing to say that you want Ukraine to win, but the first thing you do is criticize Ukraine, and then you say that he's the evil, murderous dictator, and Russia should get concessions. They should get the land for invading a country. Let me ask you another question.
I mean, realistically, though, from a geopolitical standpoint, the war does have to come to an end. And Russia's not going to just give up the land that they've taken. That's just not going to happen. So, like, how would you get the war to end, Brian? Please impart your wisdom on us, because we've already spent several $100 billion on this war, and they can't even take back the little bit of land that Russia has taken from them. You know, so, like, what do you want us to do at this point? Like, realistically, pragmatically, what do you want us to do?
That even an imbecile like you might understand. Right after 9/11, when Al-Qaeda and Osama bin Laden were the masterminds behind an attack that killed over 4,000 people. By the way, more innocent people have died in Ukraine because of Vladimir Putin. If the president of the United States at that time, which was George W. Bush, said, we're going to give Osama bin Laden concessions, and Al-Qaeda could have some of our land in the United States of America. And if I had some imbecile that called up and said,
I am amazed that he thinks that this is actually a good analogy. What the fuck? What in the flying fuck? Like, one, our country was attacked, Brian, you moron. Obviously, an American is going to feel very different about their own country being attacked versus an entirely different country. Also, hey, this isn't an act of terrorism. A nation invaded another nation. Nations go to war with each other all the time. That happens all throughout history. He is the worst at analogies. They're awful.
And I said, who do you want to win this? Osama bin Laden or George W. Bush? And an imbecile called into my show and said, George W. Bush is an evil, murderous dictator, and I want Al-Qaeda to win. Patrick, what would you say?
You must think Hassan Piker is a moron, because he basically did say exactly that.
Say to that person.
I think that's a pretty stupid analogy.
No,
It really is. It is stupid. It's very stupid.
it's an exact analogy.
It absolutely is not an exact analogy, you fucking moron.
No, it's not a stupid analogy. You won't answer it because I pinned you in a buffoon MAGA corner. You say Osama bin Laden is the mastermind behind killing thousands of innocent Americans. Vladimir Putin is the mastermind behind killing thousands and thousands of thousands of...
A better analogy would have been something like, what should we do about Germany invading Poland, or something like that, which happened in 1939. America didn't go to war with Germany because Germany invaded Poland. It wasn't until Pearl Harbor happened that America went to war with Germany. And Germany technically declared war first. Germany declared war in retaliation of our declaring war on Japan. But anyway, like, this analogy is stupid. I mean, it's just really dumb.
Of innocent soldiers and families in Ukraine. But you see, you're so stupid, you don't even understand that. You're so ignorant. It's not a stupid analogy. What do you think of evil, murderous dictators that invade other countries, Patrick? What do you think about people like that?
I think that if it's not my country that's being invaded, I think of it very differently. I think of it being very different. I think America should try to remain neutral when it comes to these incidents that are happening on the other side of the world. I wonder how he feels about the October 7th Hamas invasion of Israel, though, because essentially, couldn't you argue the same sort of thing? Like, Hamas attacked Israel, so should the Israelis just be able to like obliterate the Palestinians like in retaliation? Yeah, I just wonder like how he would exactly parse that situation out. I'd be curious.
Well, I'm not the one that seems to think Ukraine was once a part of NATO.
Okay,
Obviously,
you're not going to. You're obviously not going to answer the
So
question.
I want to say really quickly that I think the biggest threat to our security, to everything in this
Lady, the biggest threat to you is type 2 diabetes. Now, can you please be quiet?
country and around the world is misinformation and disinformation. And so clearly, Patrick, you're getting your information from either the Bros Network or whatever, wherever you're getting it, it's just not accurate. So I encourage you to actually go read up, take a class, like get educated on some world affairs.
In other words, become brainwashed and indoctrinated like me.
Because you have this stuff so mixed up and upside down.
That was pretty absurd.
You're a danger to us because of the misinformation. For sure.
You're a danger to us because you disagree with us on a war that's taking place on the other side of the world. That makes you a danger to us. Oh, okay. Sure. Okay.
Absurd. Pretty ignorant. Patrick, you're just a freaking idiot. You're an idiot.
I'm just a big brain lib and you're just a dumb MAGA cultist. Get out of here.
Stupid. And this is the far MAGA right, and that's Donald Trump's base.
Damn, bro. Look at this comment. This is brutal. It's brutal. Lady in the black sweater. I'm a big girl myself, but if I take up the entire screen in a wide shot, I usually tend to stay off camera. I mean, kudos to your confidence, but maybe hit the gym or something. Pretty soon they're going to run out of the wide angle. Oh, that's savage. That's savage, but it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to wrap this one up. Yeah, dude, Brian is unbearable.